Hey everyone and welcome. My name is Escher and I played 100 games of the Legends of Runeterra using the Braum Vlad Scargrounds deck. All 100 of these games took place during patch 2.7. My goal was to measure the matchups in average ranked games, evaluate how this deck would perform, and how my own gameplay improved along the way. I gave myself two rules to go by. Number one, I can swap out cards, but I had to keep the spirit of the deck and its synergies alive. 2. Never surrender. I played out every game to its conclusion, even bad matchups when I never stood a chance. I played until my health reached 0, just to see if there was a way out. The Braum Vlad combo deck is nothing new, but it saw some renewed play with the rise of the Blade Dance mechanic. If you somehow don't know, it combines the Freljordian Scar Clan units that get stronger by surviving damage, along with the Crimson Followers, that trigger similar effects by dealing or surviving damage. The Scargounds landmark grants +1 attack and tough to any ally that survives damage, leaving the possibility for big units with the sacrifice of some health. Braum provides a strong defense and after leveling generates extra poros for a wider board.
Time to celebrate!
Vlad levels up easily most games, and provides some extra damage while simultaneously healing your Nexus, which is crucial against some aggro matchups. Overall, this deck loves to block low damage enemies. The already damaged low health units crumble against stronger enemies and most removal spells. I started in Bronze 3 on the North American ranked ladder. So while some of the decks I ran into were memes or testing new possibilities, it was interesting to see the range of decks I encountered. Let's take a look. As expected, Azir Aurelia was the most common deck I faced, seeing it 20 times. Out of those 20 games, I won 12, giving a 60% win percentage in this matchup. Blade Dance Sand Soldiers fits perfectly into what this deck wants to see. With Scargrounds on the board, all of those 1 damage attackers only serve to buff your units. However, once Azir levels and the Inspiring Marshal gets on the board, things get hairy. Any units over 3 attack prove a true threat, and things can quickly snowball against you. Misfortune Aurelia was the next popular deck, appearing only 8 times. I loved seeing this matchup, because I went undefeated. While there is some good burn in this deck, ultimately it doesn't hit hard enough to get past the barrier of tough. The only hope it had was continually recalling and playing Jagged Taskmaster, in order to buff all the 1-cost units. However, the most I ever saw this happen was twice in one game, and by that point, I had already created a wide enough board to win.
See? Trust Braum.
Next up was Ezreal Draven, another popular deck that is making a return. This is not the matchup we want to see. Out of the 6 times I faced it, I was defeated every time. The direct-to-face damage from Ballistic Bot and the large spells like Thermogenic Beam or Tri-Beam Improbulator wiped out my biggest units before I could threaten lethal. I hated seeing this matchup. The only notes I took on game 51 were, I hate Ezreal.
Easy! Like my name.
As much as people hate Talia, this patch has given her some opportunities. Malphite Talia came up 5 times in my 100 games, all in Silver 3 on the ladder. In those 5 times, I won twice. The key was keeping Talia off the board with Culling Strike, and saving up an Avalanche or Scorched Earth to try to take care of Malphite before he could stun my entire board. This just highlights my notes after a tilting game 55. Big things are bad. Finally, some people are ignoring the new patch for old favorites. I saw Thresh Nasus 4 times, winning 3 out of those 4. It was always a race to build a board and remove their small units before they could sacrifice or slay. Nasus only beat me to the punch 1 time, in game 19, when I wasn't able to keep a decent defense. These 5 decks make up 43% of my matches. Everything else only repeated once or twice. I saw some great memes, some interesting variations, and only 2 like-minded players also playing Braum Vlad. I learned a lot from committing to the same deck for 100 games. In just 2 days, I was able to gain 652 LP, and rank up Bronze 3 to Gold 4. And I reached Mastery 3 with both champions. Braum Vlad is a decent counter to any Irelia deck, but really fails against bigger units. There was also a huge problem early on getting any units down before turn 3, making turbo aggro and elusive decks a really bad matchup. My overall win rate was 53%. This is the deck I used. Much more aggro than most, swapping out the expensive finisher units like Scar Mother Vrana for more defensive spells. There are probably better deck lists out there, but this is the one that I used. Feel free to share yours in the comments. So that's my experience playing Braum Vlad for 100 games in Ranked. I'm hoping to make many more of these videos with popular decks as the meta changes. Let me know what you thought in the comments and if there are any specific decks you want to see. Thanks for watching and have fun out there.